I'm here for a Commanders Roundtable with Ref the District. Let's get it on. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to join you guys, and thank you for dialing in. I'm here with Ref the District today, and I'm really excited to have a Commanders Roundtable to kind of touch base on everything that's happened this offseason. Nathan, how you doing this morning, man? Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us on.
Of course, man. Stoner, how you doing today, bro?
Yeah, appreciate it. Got my milk going on. Let's do this.
Let's do it, man. Trev, what's going on, man? How you doing, bro?
It's another Saturday morning. Beautiful day.
Another beautiful day. Exactly right, man. So good morning with y'all. So if you guys are routinely on the show, what I typically do is start off with some trivia to kind of get the guests all warmed up, have a little fun time with them, and then we're going to dive into our Commanders roundtable. Today's we're going to focus on Ryan Kerrigan's legacy and basically how he's been doing, or how he his whole tenure in Washington, and we're also going to talk about training camp. So. Are you guys ready? You guys ready for some trivia right now? All right, cool. All right, so this one's a little bit throwback, so I think you guys can do it, though. It's not the end of the world, but you guys got it, right?
Ding!
So, all right, there you go. Perfect.
All
right. So I haven't had it with three people. I guess we'll go around the table, around the horn, to see what the answers are. So let's do this, right? So I'm going to throw it out, then I'll go around the horn. All right, Ryan Kerrigan, he ended his Redskins career with 95.5 sacks total. Who ranks second and third on Washington's sack total list?
Good one. So you start with Nathan?
Why we got to start with me? We can't start with Trev.
Hey, going right down.
Stoner, you started speaking first. Why don't you go, Stoner?
I think you guys will get it. If you guys just sit down and be patient, you guys got it. I can give you guys some hints if you want.
Manly's got to be one of the two, right?
Who was it?
Manly.
Yeah,
Manly's number two.
Manly's number two for sure. He had 91 sacks. Yep. This guy growing up was my favorite player. I love this guy. He's a pure defense end. He was part of the Super Bowl runs.
Charles Mann. It's got to be Charles Mann.
Exactly.
Right.
Charles Mann.
Manly and Mann are the only two I can think of. And whether or not they're which one's two, which one's three is the.
Just for the listeners and for you guys. So basically, Ryan Kerrigan 95.5 sacks, Dexter Manley 91 sacks, Charles Mann 82. Okay, this is an interesting one. I'm going to ask you this one. It's going to be, actually, I won't say anything too much. Then I'm going to go back to it. Question number 2. Of the three, who had the highest sack total while in Washington? LeVar Arrington, Wilbur Marshall, or John Allen?
Just by the way you phrased that, especially at the end when you did the old or John Allen.
Yeah,
I'm going. I read the host. That's what I do well.
I think Allen's a safe choice here. Arrington didn't actually have that great.
I'm going with Wilbur Marshall just because of the name.
So honestly, if someone asked me that question, I would have answered Wilbur Marshall. Okay, it just seems like the logical choice. And the fun fact, when I played football in middle school, my number was 58 for Wilbur Marshall. I love that guy. But the answer was Jonathan Allen. I was surprised by that. So I was doing a little bit of research, and it was LeVar Arrington, 22.5 sacks. Okay, yeah, there you go. Wilbur Marshall, 24.5, and he actually played a lot of time in Chicago too. So I guess that kind of carried some of the sacks over. And then finally, John Allen. Okay, so you guys are doing pretty good. Okay, good job, Stoner. Good intuition by you. I like that.
Yeah, no, I didn't pick that up. I don't play.
That's why I'm great at poker. I can read people like a book.
100%.
I've not seen him win poker at his house once. Just for the
Just keeping it real. All right, this one should be a layup. Okay, I'll try to throw a little softball to you guys. Where did Ryan Kerrigan go to college?
That's easy. Yeah. He's a Purdue Boilermaker.
Purdue Boilermaker. Okay, that was an easy one. Yeah. All right, so we have 2 more questions.
All right.
Staying in the Big Ten, okay. Jahan Dotson played at Penn State.
Yeah.
Name one other player on Washington's football team that went to Penn State.
Shaka Toney,
yeah.
There's 2 actually. So do you guys know the other one? It's Trevor's boy.
Yeah, Troy Apke, baby. Apke season. How can I not say him first? Sorry, Troy.
Yeah,
should have been first, then Shaka Toney.
Right 100%.
Yeah. No removed from his fan club, Trev. You're no
Troy Apke's not making this roster.
Yes, he is. Special teams, bro. Come on.
Special teams. All right, we'll see what's going on. We'll see there.
Sorry.
All right, and then
hold on. You said Gandy Golden was making it, and he retired. So I don't listen to anything else he said.
Gandy Golden, dude, he was a fan favorite. People calling him the Golden Ticket and all that stuff. So that was crazy. So, All right, last one. This one also should be a layup. I was trying to be nice. I didn't know if I was going to trip you up on the other ones. Here's another nice one. Where did Ron Rivera go to college?
Cal.
UC, whatever, University of California, wherever their main campus is. UC.
Yeah, Berkeley.
Yeah, UC Berkeley. He went to Berkeley.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, very good. So
I
thank you
admittedly
guys.
did not know that one.
Okay, cool. Sorry if there was hazing you or anything like that. Well, basically,
Nah, it was good.
I think it was pretty good. I think you had some good questions.
That's good. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, guys. Before we dive into it, yesterday we saw that Ryan Kerrigan retired as a Washington football team member, Washington Commander, Washington Redskin. I enjoyed Ryan Kerrigan's career. I'm actually wearing his jersey today. I'm gonna move the mic for a second to kind of represent him.
Nice.
We're to kind of
Should have done the same.
I'm going to show you guys a quick video for all your listeners that are watching today as well. We're going to watch a little video clip, and I'm going to ask you guys basically about Ryan Kerrigan's legacy. So let me show you something real quick, Trevor, before I go. I think your boy's in the chat right here.
I see it. Troy Atkins is a lock.
So we got that over there.
What up, Merle? Appreciate you.
Is he a lock like the?
No, he's a special teams lock.
Awesome.
Guarantee.
All right, so let me show you guys a quick little video. Let me pull it up real quick. This was actually today. I loved it, man. This is what Ryan Kerrigan's all about. Let me play a little video.
First of all, that hairstyle, man. It's
So
That's
essential,
a
dude.
retired man's haircut, right there.
That is brutal.
Yeah. Long hair don't care right there. So good job, Ryan Kerrigan. All right, so here we go. Here's the video clip.
don't care.
Long hair don't care.
For me personally, I just want them to know that like I gave them everything I had, like literally everything I had, like emotionally, physically, like they got all of me, like football wise, like football was my life. Like I didn't have a lot of hobbies. I played a little bit of golf in the off season. I got, a wife and 3 daughters, but like other than that, it was all about football. It was how's this daily decision going to help me with football? Like, okay, I'm waking up in the morning, I'm eating breakfast. Okay, how's this breakfast going to help me with football? And like, that's how I approached every day of my football career. And so I want fans to know that, like, it meant that much to me that my performance and what I was showing on Sundays was that important to me that it was my driving force in life. For me personally.
All right, so that was a great quote that I saw this morning. I figured I would love to share it on the podcast. So I'm gonna start off with you, Nathan, and then we'll kind of work our way around. We can go 2 ways with the question, right? Either what is your favorite like Ryan Kerrigan play that kind of stood out to you, that kind of resonates you'll never forget, or what is his legacy that you kind of consider with him, like after he's like walked away from our team?
I think I'll go with the legacy side of the house. So, because I
Sure.
can't necessarily really think of anything like any one play. I mean, there's been a couple that's been shared. Shout out P-Dub there. But so like the commander shared, a good play from his first game. There's of course the strip sack. Preston Smith got the touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple good ones like that. But I think his lasting legacy is just, man, he's one of those guys. They constantly use the phrase high motor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he wasn't the quickest. He didn't have any really flashy moves, but he just was relentless. He just didn't stop. And I think that's going to be his legacy. He talked about it in his presser there. He just gave it his all. And you can see that on the tape. He just kept fighting, never took a play off. And so I think that's going to be his legacy. I feel kind of bad for him because I think when he left Washington, people were talking about how he was not really the sack leader for Washington because they, of course, they didn't count sacks for all of the careers of the number 2 and 3 that we listed. And so people were trying to diminish what he did here. And I feel that's not fair to him because he did, he spent 10 years with the team and he did give it all.
I agree. I do feel like there was kind of like an unceremonious like exit for him. I love the guy, and I thought like obviously cut from the team and released, but at the same time, he had a long, pretty fruitful career here in DC, so I can definitely see that. Stoner, what do you got, bro?
You know what he was, Ryan Kerrigan? He was Terry McLaurin before Terry McLaurin. He was the guy who everybody loved. Nobody ever had a problem with anything he did on and off the field. Consummate professional. Was revered by his teammates. When he got to be the elder statesman of the defense, he was the guy that mentored other defenders, the young guys coming in, the defensive ends, the Montez Sweats and Chase Youngs, and they couldn't stop raving about him. I think that should be his legacy, that he was Terry McLaurin before Terry McLaurin, and we have to appreciate what he did. He was a number 1 pick, first-round draft pick out of Purdue, and all he did was produce. He wasn't super flashy, but he was reliable. How many games in a row did he start? I mean, it was a bazillion. It was like 10 years straight.
Yeah, he had a lot.
He was
like
never
150,
missed
160 games. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah, so it was exactly what you want when you draft a guy. How many busts does this team have? Ryan Kerrigan was on the exact opposite end of that rope. He was perfect. It was exactly what they wanted. So it was great to see his entire career, minus the 1 year in Philly. We'll forgive him for that. But that was awesome. He was great, and his name will be up there in the Ring of Honor, Ring of Fame, whatever you want to call it. He'll probably get, his number retired someday, maybe.
I definitely think so. Yeah.
But yeah, he was great. Loved every bit of him.
That's a good viewpoint, right? So you kind of get a first round pick, you plug and play him at edge position, and don't forget about him for 10 years or something like that. So that's definitely fantastic perspective there. Go ahead, Dan. What did you say?
Nathan's muted.
Nathan,
you're muted, Nathan.
Sorry, I disagree with the number being retired.
It might not.
I know.
I was wondering why he was up there like.
Yeah, pissed off.
I did some typing because I wanted to pull up his stats, so I did some typing and I put myself on mute. But then
gotcha.
Stoner's talking about the number being retired, and I've heard this from multiple people right now, and I get the sentiment. I have the man's jersey myself. I feel bad because George, you're wearing it. I'm not. I am wearing an old Redskins shirt, but he's not going to go into the Hall of Fame, right? Like, this is the Hall of Very Good. He was a great Washington, absolutely belongs in the Hall of Fame and or the Hall of or the Ring of Fame,
Ring of Honor, Ring of Fame. Yeah.
But I don't think retiring his jersey is appropriate because honestly, you would retire someone like Mann or Manley before you would retire Kerrigan's because they won championships while they're here and produced.
Yeah, there's a lot of other guys.
So I think that there's a lot of love going out to Kerrigan today because he's retired, which is great because there was the animosity when he went to the Eagles. But let's not retire 91 when, honestly, he's not. You retire jerseys from people who went to the Hall of Fame and won you championships. Kerrigan is going to do neither. He is absolutely a lock for the Ring of Fame.
You're such a negative Nancy.
But you don't retire his jersey. You just don't retire his jersey.
So, Trevor, we'll go there in a second, Trevor. It's interesting. That's a very interesting. I wouldn't even think choice. Like, I thought that basically he would be a lock to have his jersey retired. But you're right. There's definitely like a legacy of players that have come before him that haven't got their jerseys retired. But at the same time, I think that's going to change. I'm sure you guys are kind of hearing the whispers and kind of hearing all the different things. Jason Wright, the whole business side, are really trying to like connect the past to the future and kind of have that little bridge. And I think this year to kind of to facilitate that, there's going to be like every week to be retiring jerseys and basically connecting that. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Like, I guess before I get to Trevor, do you think do you guys appreciate the fact that they're going to start like retroactively retiring jerseys now, or do you think it's kind of like pandering and kind of a little too late? I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
It's never too late. It's never
too late.
No, I think it's a great thing to recognize the past and the future and bring them together as one because, I mean, it just is. I don't have a good reason for it, but it's just, it's just obvious reasons. It's a good idea.
And Trevor, well, before we go back to Kerrigan for you, Nathan and Sinner, you have any perspective on that?
Yeah, you absolutely have to continue to connect to the past. We as fans, we complain about that, right? That we don't have that connection, that we've just kind of sort of separated from the past. But as Merle's saying, you've got the Art Monks and Brian Mitchells and the Joe Theismanns and the Darryl Greens and the John Riggins. None of those numbers are retired. They need to do that. And I don't think it's pandering to anybody. It's connecting and staying. And they've said that with this whole rebrand, right? We're going to connect to the past, connect to the legends, all that. So they need to keep doing that. I
agree. I know they have.
They're not called the Legends, by the way.
Yeah, I wish they would.
The Washington Legends. That'd been pretty cool, actually. I'm not gonna lie. I know as a fan, it kind of makes me feel uncomfortable when I'm seeing like 83 running around out there and 84 running around out there and 81 running out there. It's like, dude, those are my guys growing up. I was like, even 11, like Mark Rippon. I know Mark Rippon had a short career here, but like when I think of 11 for Washington, I'm thinking of Mark Rippon and seeing these other players where their dominant jerseys a little bit interesting. So before we go back to, I guess Trevor, what do you think about Ryan Kerrigan? What's his
I mean, he was like Stoner and Nathan said, Terry McLaurin before Terry McLaurin, leaving a legacy, doing the right thing, high motor guy. not the most flashy guy, not the most talented or gifted guy, but just hard work. And he's the model for what hard work will bring you in life without, without having any talents or certain gifts or anything like that. He was like, also one of the most held edge rushers in the game. Like he was always being held, never getting called for it, 100%. Which I thought was amazing. Never thought that he would pan out coming from Purdue as an edge rusher, to be honest, but he's one of the greats that we have here. And of course the play with strip sack on Dak Prescott. And I think his celebration, the HBK, because I loved WWE growing up. So like it just works great because all the women loved him during their career here. They loved him some Kerrigan all the time. So like married, single, whatever, they all wanted Kerrigan. So that celebration just fit the mold. So go Kerrigan, go.
I always give these guys. I talk about certain things that happen in my household with my wife, and who's not a big sports fan, but she supports all my efforts and everything. And it was another one of those things that I would scream sack, something like that. And she'd say, "Who did it? And what do you think I did?" I got up, I did the thumbs up, and did that thing. And she's like
for an edge rusher to be so like flexible enough to do that, that says a lot too about how he took care of his body.
He took care of his body.
I can't do that.
He's known for that. He's known for that.
Yeah.
Darrell's kind of in the same ballpark as Nathan. They need to keep the bar high if we want to lower it to retiring. Kerrigan's jersey might be mediocre, and within a couple of years, we'll have 15 years left.
But I wouldn't go mediocre, right? But I get.
But it's no knock on Kerrigan, even if he's a great player here. There was an interesting question in the chat. I'm going to post it up in a second, but I also saw this today too. Let me pull this. Let me show you the video first. Let me pull the video up. I'll pop that open. So Kerrigan said he's kind of restless. He doesn't see himself kind of going off into the sunset without being involved in football. I'm going to show you a little video clip, and I'm going to ask you a question in a second. So let me pull this up real quick.
I'm a worker. I like to be busy. I like to work. I've been at home for like 5 weeks now because I was when I made the decision, and I think those 4 are ready for me to be out of the house a little bit. So, but no, yeah, I definitely want to get to something because I love football too much. I just love football too much to not be involved in it in any capacity, and so that's what I'm hoping to do.
All right, let me stop that real quick. All right, so I'm gonna drop you're gonna see it pop up on the bottom. I actually threw this in the Twitter earlier today. Bring him into coach. Would you put him as a consultant for an edge rusher, or what do you guys think?
I tweeted earlier. I said make him defensive line coach from the jump. Go ahead and get rid of Sam Mills out of this season. Seriously. I mean, he's literally the epitome of what we want from our defensive line. When he was there, like he helped Chase Young be the guy who he's supposed to be before injury. Like all the other guys, the Ron Payne, John Allen's, like they thrived off of him. And even the offensive guys started off to him. You heard Terry McLaurin like took care of his body and dieted the way that Kerrigan did, like took a couple of things from him to help upon himself. So like, heck yeah, bring him in. Don't even not assistant to the assistant. Like you bring him either assistant DL or just make him head DL coach. That's what I think.
That's interesting. So, I don't know if I would fully have him be the complete defensive line coach because I feel like you can be a great player, but you cannot necessarily be the great coach. But I think a consultant would be a great, just come in every once in a while, help out with the edge rushers. Kyle Smith for GM, I'm sure you guys know with on Twitter and everything. He's great. He has great takes. He was talking about basically Kerrigan was known for taking care of his body, being always prepared and always like a consummate professional off the field. I think that could rub off on our young defensive linemen. Stoner, what do you think, man? I think Mrs. Perry's in the chat. What's up, Miss Perry? Yeah. Go ahead.
I think that might be a little premature until you know what he is as a coach, because you have no idea if he can coach or not. You know who he is. You know he's good at everything he does. But is he the guy that's willing to sit in there and break down film every day?
Of course he is. You heard what he said.
Work those 16-hour days that these coaches work and everything that goes into that day after day after day after week.
He's ready.
No, but you don't know that. You got to find that out first. So
how you going to find that out? The only way you find out is if you hire him.
You bring him in as a consultant, like George said, and you figure that of in the middle of
transition. You can't dive in.
No, dive all in, bro. We got to be aggressive. I'm tired of tipping our feet in the pool.
But you
It's
have
cold.
no idea,
It's cold. Nah, jump in that pool. Let's get wet, baby. Let's go.
There's
You have no
plenty
idea if he's a
examples
coach or
of
not.
players who
But I
don't
can't even
make
swim,
good
so I don't know why I use
coaches.
that analogy. But what?
All right, Nathan, we're going to say one of the examples of a player not being
so
a good
there's
coach
plenty of
is
examples of of players who don't make good coaches. So I do think bringing him in, if it's not a consultant, bring him in as like an assistant coach. I'm pretty sure the NFL has a program for players to transition to the coaching. So bring him into that program, keep him around, because he is somebody who would be good for our current players to kind of have that around. But George, you're an educator. You know that there's like special things that go into doing that. And so he does need to learn those things, because it's not just about him watching tape and being a good player. Now he has to be able to bring that to the other. So I think it's worth pursuing. I definitely want to see it happen, but I agree with you guys that it's going to take some time. Now, Stoner, as far as like him wanting to be a part of the grind, I'm with Trev on this one. The guy just told us like he eats, breathes, sleeps football. He's definitely willing to put in that time. And Stoner, related a little bit to you and soon to be me, right? You see a lot of this with retired military members. They've been with the military for 20 plus years. It's hard to let go. And
I can see that.
He's retiring from football, and you can tell it's going to be something that's going to be hard for him to let go. So he just wants to be around it. And it'll probably be about 5 years before he kind of starts realizing like, okay, now I should probably spend time with the girls. Now I should probably do this. He at this point still wants to be around a football team. He just knows that he wasn't going to make it on the field. So he will find any way to just be around football right now.
I agree. And I don't know if you guys caught this, but I was listening to Chris Cooley. I think it was on John Com's podcast a couple months ago. And it was interesting. He was talking about how he like really wanted to be a coach. And basically it's such a hard way to get into the industry. He was applying, and no one actually picked him up. And typically, like when you do transition from a player to a coach, it's typically in that like offensive assistant, the quality control positions you keep hearing about and seeing about over and over again. So I wonder if they bring him on in that regard. But I can see him almost immediately being like, he's going to be like one of those like London Fletcher, Santana Moss. He's going to be around Washington, like either in the media and stuff like that. He's a very marketable and good-looking guy and stuff like that. So I think he'll be good there. So so let's pivot, unless you guys have anything else you want to say about that. You guys are good? No. Cool. So let's pivot a little bit to training camp. So start off with you, Trevor. So pretty open-ended question. What would be your ideal outcome for training camp? Like by the end of training camp, we're at this point, and that would make you feel comfortable and you'd be happy with that. Like, what do you expect? What are you seeing? And I left it open-ended and totally, right? You can talk about players. You can talk about the whatever you want. So go ahead.
I want our linebacker and Buffalo nickel spot to be solidified by the time preseason. Well, closer to being solidified by the time preseason game 2 comes. You know, because game 3, all the starters are gone. So I want to see who we bring in to potentially be like that. Because from what all reports I'm seeing and pictures and videos, it sounds like there's a lot of positions are solidified, and it's a lot of progress happening, and not a lot of negativity come out of camp. Like, of course, it's up and down days, but for the most part, it sounds like offense is finding chemistry, defense is finding chemistry, the secondary is finding chemistry. I guess they're communicating now. It's good to hear Cam Curl and Bobby McCain have become like really close and tight, so that's good to hear. But like, but you really don't hear anything about the linebackers, because I guess we don't have any. I mean, I heard about Jamin Davis today before we got on the show. He did a nice play. He's supposed to blow up a screen of dots, and it said, but other than that, you don't hear anything. So like, that's what I want to see from training camp, is what we're going to do with Cole Holcomb, Jamin Davis, and question mark. Because we might have to have a third one. So
I got you. It makes sense too, just to kind of give some listeners and viewers.
Some kind of like, okay, like, are you going to bring somebody in so we can perform preseason game 1 and 2, or are you just going to roll with the punches and then go get somebody during the preseason? Like, that's a huge question mark.
One thing I want to share from with the training camp yesterday, I was kind of blessed to do so. Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb had all the first team reps. There wasn't any confusion about that. They're definitely working with them and trying to develop them. Khaleke Hudson did come off the bench, and when he was one of the first subs to come off the bench. Him and Percy Butler were the first two. Whenever Hudson was on the field, it was always in tandem with David Mayo. It was always like the first string comes off and the second string come on. I didn't see anything glaringly great about the linebackers today, but I didn't see anything glaringly bad, which I guess is a good thing, right? It just seemed like there was a lot of they were working on communication. Like, I guess I don't know if it was the offensive scheme or whatever was going on, but there's a lot of drags coming across the linebacker's face, and there was a constant communication, like handing them off to the people going across them. So that was good to see. There wasn't really a lot of mix-ups yesterday, and I'll take that. And then before I go over to Stoner, I actually talked to Davis. Jamie Davis ran by, and we're just kind of talking a little bit because after the practice, and he was in good spirits. He was very confident. He didn't seem like a timid rookie or anything like that. So hopefully he feels a little bit more comfortable as a pro, because I know coming from Kentucky is a smaller program and only played like 14 games as a starter. It might have been too big for him last year. So maybe this year he starts to kind of feel a little bit more comfortable there. But that's my 1 hour snapshot. So we'll see what happens. But Stoner, what do you got? I mean, what's your ideal outcome after training camp?
Yeah, I think strategically on the field sort of thing, Trev hit on that Buffalo nickel / third linebacker is what everybody wants the team to figure out. Whatever it is, tell us that Percy Butler is that guy, or tell us you're going to bring in another linebacker to play that third line. Whatever it is, figure it out so that it doesn't hang over everybody. But kind of an overall picture, two things. I think Gus Bus hit it there earlier, is the injuries. Right now, you don't have any major injuries that you're worried about, right? Knock on wood. Let's not have anything major go down. And you don't have anybody other than maybe Chase Young with the major rehab that he's dealing with that's really going to miss any significant time that we're concerned about for this season, right? That's the big thing, injuries. But second of all, I want to get out of training camp with everybody feeling good about the quarterback in this offense. Just feeling good. It doesn't have to be that they're dominating, that he's lighting up practice every day. Last year, you didn't feel that. Everybody had high hopes for Fitzpatrick, but it was very they just weren't clicking. Even in the preseason, it just weren't clicking. The offense wasn't quite clicking. And everyone says, don't worry.
You're right, actually. Fitzpatrick was pretty erratic. And I remember I was excited about Fitzpatrick,
good, right?
but it was like we barely could score. If I remember correctly,
Yes,
I think we were I think all three of us were at a preseason game together. We're like, dude, we haven't scored a touchdown in 3 games. Like, what is going on? This is awful. But go ahead.
But let's just get out of camp with feeling good about Carson Wentz in this offense.
I like that.
That we don't have any issues. It's going to be fine. Everybody looks good. Command of the offense, all that good stuff. Those are the two big things: injuries and
for sure.
Carson Wentz / offense.
I agree, especially to our high end guys too. I think I was on with the Burgundy Zone yesterday. I was on their podcast, and they asked me is it a concern that a lot of Gibson's out, and maybe the Trey Turner was out yesterday, and is it a concern that the starters are not necessarily practicing right now? I didn't think it was a big deal. I'm like, you know what? It's so early in training camp. You kind of want the players to kind of get some rep time with different chemistry and build get exposure, especially to the younger guys. I wanted that, so I'm not really worried about it so far. So stay healthy, work together, make sure our depth's good. I hope our high end guys can stay healthy, as you mentioned. But good. Nathan, what do you got, bro?
I mean, I'm just going to echo everything you guys are talking about, right? So the biggest thing is you want to walk away with no injuries to anybody, key starters especially, and the defense has been outperforming the offense, but we expect that to be happening at this stage, right? So the defense didn't have a lot of turnover. You got a new QB and a lot of new offensive tools. So the offense is going to take some time. So I'm not too concerned about that, but kind of what Stoner's talking about, I would like to see at least one day where Wentz has a good day. So Stoner's been keeping track far of Carson Wentz's good days or bad days. And I don't think there's been one single good day, Trev. I think it's always been, he was a little inaccurate today, but he has some zing, right? Keep hearing the arm is live. And you can see that in some of the, I watched your video, George, on some of those passes. You can tell those passes are not quite finding their intended target. Now, granted, when you're throwing to Terry McLaurin or Dotson, these guys are they're going to get those passes. So hopefully, though, they start coming in target, because that's something I think will really help improve. But I don't need to see that really until those preseason games start. That's going to take some time to build. The linebackers, I'm not so concerned about getting a name guy. If the communication with the defense can stay strong, which so far we've heard it, you know, you can get by with some Jags as long as you're communicating and working as one. So if the defense keeps moving in that direction, I'll be happy. And if we can keep hearing that, because you can have mayonnaise out there as your
his name is Miracle Whip, David Miracle Whip.
You can have
Can't
Miracle
cover
Whip
anything.
out there. You don't want
anything.
You're going to
want
get
them covering
abused.
anything. It makes sense.
You're going to, you know, if they're out of position, that's when you're going to get abused. But they're at least in the spot. They're at least going to be decent. They might be, you know, bend don't break again, but at least you're going to be fine. And as I've mentioned before, the third safety is more important than that third linebacker.
I agree with that.
I think that we have some.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we have some decent safeties behind McCain and Curl to be able to fill that third safety position. Now, who's going to actually take it? You know, we'll see if Percy Butler is up to the task.
I agree. So you definitely brought up a good point. I didn't want to, like, you know, I guess I should plug it, but basically I made a video yesterday. I went to training camp, and that's one takeaway that I had was I saw Carson Wentz, and I've been high on Carson Wentz this entire time. And I don't want to cause any angst in the fan base at all, but it was interesting. People kept talking all offseason about how Carson Wentz needs a big target, someone with a big catch rate. It's because he isn't always the most 100% accurate. And like, I wouldn't say his balls were completely off. It was like, it would just be high or a little bit low and things like that. And with Dotson and McLaurin, they definitely can adjust to catch the ball. But it was something that I noticed. And if you actually watch the video and, you know, look at my feed, there was a video I made about a 4-minute clip. And the second throw was like, it was almost like a putt. It was like 20 yards above John Dotson. I was like, what is going on? And it was definitely eye-opening to me. So we're going to pivot to talk about Carson Wentz some more. I was going to my next question anyway. So thank you, Gus. And he actually had a pretty good question in the chat. He said, do you guys want Wentz to be handled like Brady in the preseason, or do you want him to let the guy through 35 pass attempts in the preseason? We don't need to practice the run game. Do you guys have any strong feelings about that question at all?
I do. I've always thought that starters, especially quarterbacks, first team offense, should get a lot of work in the preseason. That's the real deal. You're playing against guys in training camp, the same guys over and over. They start to figure out your tendencies. They know what's coming. They know your offense. You need those reps against live teams, other teams. If you can do that in training camp, right? If you can bring in another team like they used to do and play against each other, then I wouldn't want them to do it as much in the preseason. But I want my quarterback out there throwing probably 50 times over the course of 2+ games. That's how much.
Yeah, two games. That's not too bad.
Yeah, but one game's going off. But it's interesting.
Like the entire preseason.
There's only 3 preseason games now, so it's interesting, right? So that, like, typically that fourth game would basically be that dress rehearsal. It's not, sorry, the fourth game would typically be the walk-ons and lower end of the roster kind of players. So now it's kind of consolidated down to 3. So we have 2 games to get some reps in, but then you have to find that healthy balance, right? You're going to throw the ball a lot, or you're going to risk people being injured basically by tossing the ball around. So that's kind of interesting. So Trevor, what do you think? What's your thoughts? We'll go to Nathan afterwards.
Well, since we have a competent quarterback this year, I think in 2 games he should throw 20 to 25 passes, because what's 35 passes going to do? I mean, you don't want to expose the playbook already in the first 2 preseason games, but you also don't want to do the same pass over and over and over again, because that's not going to do anything. So we have Carson Wentz. Our starters we know what they're made of. Even Curtis Samuel, we've seen it firsthand in Carolina when he torched us. We may not have seen it in our uniform, but we know what he is. We know what Terry is. Get John Dotson in there for a few series, get him out. Other than that, I don't want my quarterback in there throwing that many passes, because freak accidents happen. I mean, Ryan Jensen's already down in training camp, and that's the starting center for the Bucs. So like 20, 25 passes for Carson in the offense, and then let the bench ride out. That's what I would.
The added component before I pass it over to Nathan is that Washington didn't take advantage of the inviting people over for practice and having like the competition within their own training camp. So this is their only live competition. So just kind of factor that into your decision, Nathan. So what do you got?
So I'm actually with Stoner on this one. I think that I want to see a lot of Carson Wentz, but Trev, you have a point. And Trey Z, shout out to him in the chat there. With the high catches, increases chance for injury. So I don't want to see the playmakers, the offensive playmakers out there, but Carson Wentz needs the time, and the line, I think, needs the time, especially with the 2 new guards. So I would like to see that unit, the line and Carson Wentz, get a lot of time together and pass blocking and get that confidence heading into the season. George, you talked about it last year, right? When that preseason, we were like 3 games in, the offense wasn't clicking, and Fitzpatrick wasn't getting a whole lot of time. They kept him. They kept very reserved on that, and it led to the offense being stale coming out the gates in season in the open against the Chargers. And then, of course, he got injured. So I would like to see some more work with Carson Wentz in the line in the preseason, so that way they're ready come game one against the Jaguars. I don't want to have any kind of rust to have to knock off and anything like that. They need the time. Now, the playmakers, you know what you're going to get from Terry. Dotson will probably see a little bit more time, but we better be seeing a lot of Cam Sims, a lot of Dax Milne. We better be seeing
Dax.
in the preseason.
I like Cam Sims. You don't like Cam Sims, Trevor?
For some reason, I just don't.
I like him. I hated on him for a while, but he grew on me. I like him. I think
he just doesn't do it for me. I don't know why.
He comes in a pinch. It's like he's not expected to do a lot, but then
he's your fifth receiver.
And he comes in and he does pretty well. I agree.
But I also thought Trevor may have contradicted his own point there when he talked about Ryan Jensen from the Bucks getting hurt in a non-pad, non-contact training camp. You can get hurt at any time. So
I know you do. You
just got to go out there and you just got to get these guys.
How we are with. Look what we just dealt with last year with injuries and COVID. I'd rather just go in there with the healthiest we can be ever, rather than
that's fair.
Just because we want to see Carson Wentz.
But if you rest them too much, Trev, they're probably going to be more at risk for injury. There's some conditioning
they do. There's some live speed of the game definitely affects things, I think.
It does, but
getting hit, you got to get hit.
But Carson's been hit before. Hell, he's been injured his whole damn career. So we don't need to have him out there. Come on, guys.
Here, let's say let me do one thing. We'll go back to Carson Wentz again. So, executive producer JP definitely threw something in the chat. Just says Dotson handling the ball scares me. He has a lot of ball handling. We'll see how that goes. Yesterday,
watch.
We can go that route. I'm not going to go that route. I don't know her like that. But I was going to say, Dotson was like him and Dax Milne were our primary punt returners. So I think he's going to get some. He's going to get some reps. Like he's going to be on the.
Dax Milne's making the squad, Stoner.
That's so funny. So it's funny
that your girl.
I was going to say that my next comment was people were at Mr. Studio. People were yelling that at training camp. I said it was hilarious.
That's why he's making it stand alone for that reason.
Just for that.
That's so funny.
Yeah, Moxie, right?
Yeah. So I think the whole narrative of this season is going to be Carson Wentz's production and the rising of our defense. Is our defense actually going to play well? I think it's going to be what carries us throughout the year. Trevor, we'll start off with you. What is your confidence level with Carson Wentz? And just for sakes, 1 through 10, how confident are you in him? And then where do you see him? Do you see him as QB 15? Do you see as up? Does he have a higher ceiling? What do you got? So what's your thoughts on him?
I'm gonna go 7.5, maybe an 8, just because we've seen what he's capable of doing, MVP caliber before the injuries, all that stuff. He's a really good quarterback. I know when we played him, we sacked him a lot, but also he escaped from us too a lot. He was very elusive, and like you said, the accuracy thing is kind of whatever. The freak accident, he's in a pinch and just throws a left-hand interception, that stuff kind of freaks me out. But other than that, we know he has an arm. We know he can win games. We know he can move the ball down the field. We know he can score us points. We've seen it in the Colts and Philly, and even in training camp right now. So my confidence is a 7.5 and 8. Last year with Heineke, we didn't know where we were getting. Just a kid with moxie is all we knew. That's it.
Gotcha.
So as far as quarterback in the league, 15 to 20, I guess. 15 is probably the highest where I would rank him right now.
Okay.
20 would be the lowest just because of the injuries and the all the stuff, the negative stuff the media is portraying. But stats, he has the stats to be a top 15. I mean, he only threw 7 picks last year and 27 touchdowns. I mean, that's not bad. And for a run dominant offense too, without that many wide receiver weapons as he has now. So, I mean,
he looks the part too. I'm not gonna lie. He's a big boy. I saw him in person. Man, we actually have a professional quarterback. It was nice. He's huge. Stoner, what do you got?
I agree with a lot of what Trev says. I put him in the confidence level of about a 7.5. And just to be fair, that's all this team really needs. If you win 7 games with the competition that they had to deal with last year, the top 5 most difficult schedule, and you won 7 games with Taylor Heineke out there throwing
and Garrett Gilbert and Kyle Allen.
Yeah, all those guys, right? Now you have the easier schedule. You have a more potent offense. You've got more weapons, assuming everybody stays healthy. And you've got a professional quarterback back there with the arm to do it. Why would you think that this team would be the same or worse.
Mhm.
They would have to be better. They would have to be in that 8, 9, 10 range at a minimum. I would say 8 as a minimum, really.
I think it's a logic for most people in our area when thinking about the team.
And that schedule, it's look, you can say all you want about the quarterbacks or the schedule, and everybody's getting better in the offseason. That's fine. But would you rather face the guys like Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, or would you rather face Davis Mills, Justin Fields, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, guys like that? That's who you want to face if you had a choice. They're all good. They're all professionals. They all get paid. That's true, but it's just a lot easier schedule.
I agree. Nathan, what about you, bud?
Yeah, I'm going to go just a half point lower than those two. I'm at a 7 on the confidence level for him. I wasn't really excited about the trade. My favorite part of the whole Wentz deal is the fact that they haven't restructured the contract. So yes, it's $28 million this year, but if he doesn't pan out, you can cut him. And if that's the happiest part of the deal that I have, probably a sign that I'm not too confident in his ability to stay here long term. But that being said, Stoner's right on track here. Last year's offense was a bottom third, if not even worse, of the league. Right? Carson Wentz is an improvement. If Carson Wentz is the 16th best quarterback and this offense is like the 18th best offense in the league, you're winning more games this year, especially if the defense returns back to some form of good, right? Not even top 5, top 10 defense with an 18th ranked overall offense. You're going to win games. You're
100%.
Probably going to make the playoffs. And I think the fan base will be happy with that.
I agree.
You know, is Carson Wentz, the reason why I'm not as higher than a 7 on Carson Wentz is because I do think there's a lot of questions to his game. We're seeing some of that in training camp with the accuracy is not quite where you want it to be. You know that he's a risk taker. There's that the injury concern. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong, but we don't need a whole lot to go right. We just need somebody to be able to open up the offense just enough to get us there. And Richie, I see your comment there with Taylor Heineke is better.
Oh my God.
Objectively not true. And you can see that in
practice. But he is,
Taylor Heineke does have that moxie, and he did a lot for the team. So I'm not trying to admonish him, but he's a backup quarterback.
Richie made a comment earlier, bring your A game at 1:00 on September 25th. So I don't think he's a Commanders fan. He's an Eagles fan, I think.
He's an Eagles fan. I'm pretty sure he's an Eagles
fan.
That's
why he's trolling us right now.
Yeah, he's trolling us a little bit. Eagles fans hate on Wentz a lot. It's definitely there's some bitter breakup there between Wentz and the Eagles for sure, man. So
this is the most talented offense Carson Wentz has been a part of his entire career. It is.
Yeah.
There's no way. Potentially. On paper.
The speed is there. And Carson's talked about that is that these guys.
Explosion's there, speed's there, the hands are there, it sounds like in practice. You don't hear a lot of drop balls from these starting playmakers.
He doesn't drop a ball. I think Wentz, I was lukewarm when we got him. I'm not gonna lie. It was a rough week for Commanders, Washington football fans. It was we were big game fishing for Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. We heard about potential 3 first-round picks from Russell Wilson on Monday. We're not trading Russell Wilson on Tuesday. Wednesday he goes to the Broncos, kind of a slap on the face. And then later on the next day we get Carson Wentz because we felt like we were second. Where it felt like I don't know. We felt like leftovers kind of. It wasn't a good look for us. So I think my honest assessment with Wentz is I think he is a playoff caliber quarterback. I think he's someone that can get you 8, 9, 10, 11 games every single year. Do I think he's a Super Bowl quarterback? Do I think he's a clutch, is he going to take us over that hump? Who knows? He's still 29, but I think in this part of his career, he hasn't gotten there yet. But I do think he's a playoff caliber quarterback. I think we will be in the mix for the NFC East. I think it's going to be us, the Eagles, and the Cowboys, and it's just going to be who's healthier, who wins the games, and how it all goes down.
And for some reason, I feel like Carson Wentz is going to come out with a bigger chip on his shoulder this season because this is his 3rd team in 3 years. He's hearing the reports. As much as he says, I kind of block it out. I just, but
he also has 3 revenge games, right?
Yeah, so he hears it. So we might get some of the best ball we've ever seen out of Carson Wentz this year. Who knows?
And it is legitimately a contract year for him.
Yeah,
because he can just be cut if he doesn't do well.
So
I like what Nathan said.
or-
That was the best. That's the best part of everything. It's like we can
Or you
have
get
him for this year,
56
have him
mil.
for 3 years,
or
and-
even 56 mil. Yeah.
or if he's great, we can whatever. Or we can even extend it or
Or
restructure it
yeah.
and potentially try to squeeze in Payne if we really wanted to go that route. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. This is a great line right here. I love this, Gus. This is Wentz's Arias Stark season. I love that. Very good. He's angry. It's comeback season. I like that. So that's good for sure. I like it. All right, let's pivot a little bit. And we don't have to deep dive on this. I'm just curious. So yesterday I was watching quarterbacks. I saw the cycle between Wentz and Howell and Heide coming up, right?
Sam Howell's quarterback too.
So people were hyping up Howell. And I'm not gonna lie, I was at practice and I was like, interesting. I was there too. Like, I didn't see him as like people were like Joe Montana. What the hell's going on? I had no idea. I was like, what is going on here? Like, I thought he was had a pretty decent camp. Do you guys have a preference, or do you guys care who wins QB2?
For me,
Go ahead, Trevor.
You should know my answer. I'll take your wife as QB2 before Taylor Heineke.
She has a pretty good arm. She's feisty.
Yeah.
She has
I know that was no diss to her. Like that was the compliment. Like
yeah.
So yeah, Sam Howell. But like even with the reports coming out and all you guys going there and talking about it, like, and I called this from the beginning. I'm like, Sam Howell is going to be a quarterback too by the time it's over and done with this season. If he keeps this up, he's kind of outshining Heineke. I think Heineke had a good day today, as I was reading before we got on here, but so far Howell's been quarterback 2-like, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
One thing I'll say before I pass it over to the boys is that I saw yesterday Wentz by far has excellent velocity. It's as advertised. So Wentz zips the ball and it looks like a rocket. And I think that's why sometimes the ball is a little bit too high or too low. It's like a fastball. It's like he zips it and it just gets a little bit ahead of him, right? Howell is right below. He has more velocity than Heineke. And Heineke, like if you actually like pay attention to it now, it is like it's like little rainbows. It definitely is like there isn't a lot of velocity there, but I got to give him credit. He knows the offense pretty damn well, and he throws in rhythm. Like if you watch my video again, it'll be like Heineke will throw the ball, and the wide receiver will be over here. And like watching it live, you're like, oh crap, that's gonna be a pick. And all of a sudden, it's like the wide receiver cuts. It's like he throws it before he even gets there, hits him in stride. So Heineke, he got a little something. But don't count him out yet. That's his MO. That's what Heineke is. So I think Heineke. 5 years from now, I think we're still going to be talking about it. We're not going to love it, but it's going to be like, all right, peace, bro. Talk to you later, man. Yeah, I'm turning the screen off. No, but it's like, I think he built something around him. People respect him because he has that that blue collar thing that everybody aspires for. So I can see that. Still know what do you got, man? Think about. Do you care?
Trev, let me ask you a question.
I know.
An honest answer. No, I just want you to give me an honest answer. Okay. Let's just say it's week 15, and you're playing the Eagles on the road.
Okay.
And a playoff position is on the line. The division is basically on the line in this game. And Carson Wentz gets hurt and has to come out in the third quarter, and you're down 10. Do you want Sam Howell, a rookie who's never seen the field, to come in, or do you want Taylor Heineke, who has proven that he has, as George said, a command of the offense, to come in that scary environment on the road, playoffs on the line? Who would you rather come in?
Sam Howell, because
I don't think you're being honest with yourself.
I am being honest. The result's the same. The result's going to be the same.
Fan. What are you going to
do? Literally, the result's going to be the same.
They all over himself.
Taylor Heineke does.
No, he
does.
They
both do. There's a chance of good things happening with both, and a chance of both things happening with both if they're both in there. Honestly. We've seen it from Taylor already before. The Tampa Bay game was here and gone. We've seen that the Tampa Bay game was cool. We still lost that game. I don't know if anybody knows it. We still lost that Tampa Bay game.
If you look at it retroactively, I'll be honest. I watched the game like that last summer, like going into the season, kind of like getting ready for the 2021 season, and it was like being honest. If you look at it objectively now, I challenge you guys to watch it in the next week or so. It's like you watch the game, and it's like it's a different measuring stick. Heineke played better than expected, but he didn't play great. And I think that's the disillusion that we have in the whole fan base. Everyone's like, he's a legend. He balled the hell out.
I know.
He had one touchdown, like 200 yards.
Yeah, we also got to remember.
But he played his ass off, though. I got to give him that.
I think the Bucs were missing a couple of their players on defense as well. They weren't fully healthy on defense.
A key linebacker,
yeah. So, like, I mean,
it's not one game though. If you look at the totality of his entire season plus that one game, he doesn't throw up all over himself when he's out. he just doesn't necessarily lead you to wins, but he doesn't lead you to losses either. Right. So that's why I say
give me Sam Howell's college tape and put it up against Taylor Heineke's pro tape, and you tell me who you want. Sam Howell
game against Wake Forest, he was pretty outstanding,
dominating. Yeah,
the game against Dallas when we lost 70-12, he was pretty good too when he was on the ground more than he was standing up.
So George,
ask Michael Parsons.
Nathan,
George, you hit the nail on the head when it comes to the experience, right? That's why Taylor Heineke is going to be QB2 this season. I love the Howell pick. I thought it was a great value. He's has good potential to be the backup quarterback for years. Mm-hmm. Taylor Heineke has earned himself some money because he had a decent season, not great, but he showed that he can play in the NFL, which is good for him.
So can Garrett Gilbert. What the hell is that?
Well, Garrett Gilbert might not be employed 2 years from now. Taylor Heineke probably will be as a backup quarterback. Taylor Heineke won't be on this team next season because they will move to Howell. Okay,
no,
they won't move to Howell this year because look at the coaching staff. This is a coaching staff that prefers veterans, right? They don't want to put the young guys in there. They want that experience. So Taylor,
is that narrative still true though?
We got Sam Howell. We drafted a quarterback this year.
Okay, but you're not starting a fifth rounder, right? You're not going to do that over.
I think they'll start for a quarterback. They want a veteran quarterback, but I feel like they like in regard to coaching, they like to kind of go young these days. Right? I feel like
they do have a very young staff, and we went over each of the positions, and I think they have very few people north of 30, right? Mm-hmm. But they always go with those experience. And you look at, they kept Bostic last season, right? Mm-hmm. They're going to keep Taylor Heineke. They're going to keep him as the number 2 because if Carson Wentz goes down, they just want somebody to keep afloat. Now, if the season goes sideways, like Carson Wentz goes down, they're 1-7, then they're going to throw out Howell because there's no point in.
No, they're going to throw out Heineke for his audition tape for other teams. That's what's going to happen.
No, they won't. And someone asked about whether or not he's got some trade bait to him, Heineke. If you can't trade Jimmy G, you're not going to trade Taylor.
I agree. He's more valuable to our team than the other teams. So guys, we've had some awesome conversations. I had 5 more questions, but we're gonna have to cut it out because we've been going deep dive into some other things. I want to be done in about an hour. Real quick roundabout. Is there any scenario in where you would move away from Wentz for this season?
This season?
This season. Let's put Howell in. Let's put Heineke. Is there any way they would see that for happening?
No.
Okay.
They paid.
I'm kind of with you, Trevor. I think you got to kind of. You have to. They
paid that man almost $30 million. He can throw up over himself for $30 million. We'll let it ride. There's no way that we can't do that.
When you're talking about evaluating the other players, you're just going to put in the guy who's giving yourself the best chance to do that, right? So, if we're looking at replacing Wentz, because again, let's say we're 1-7 or 0-8, like that one guy said that we were going to be finished 3-13, right? Mm-hmm. This is where you're probably still playing Wentz because he still gives you the best chance to win, and he also gives you the best chance to actually evaluate the other players. Mm-hmm. Because we saw that with Taylor Heineke. You're not going to see whether or not De'Ami Brown can actually do those long routes that he's known for, because Taylor Heineke's not going to be able to get them balls.
Well, you know who can get him that
potentially
long ball?
How, and that's probably the only way you see it go from. You're not going to go from Wentz to Heineke unless Wentz has been really bad and they're still in contention for a playoff spot. And you're not going to see Wentz get benched for Howell unless the whole team's been really bad and you're in full on evaluation mode. But if that happens,
punt the season. Then
I expect a wholesale change, right? No Wentz, no Rivera, no you're just going to clean house entirely.
And we're looking at quarterback in the first round next year.
QB in the first round, so Howell isn't even going to be the guy here.
I agree. All right, last 2 questions so we can kind of wrap it up. So, real quick, right? So going into training camp, so is there one player that you're really high on going into training camp? And is there one person that you're really low on going into training camp? And let's hear it. So let's kind of go back the other way. We usually Trevor to Nathan first. We'll go around. Nathan, what do you got?
A player that I'm high on is obviously Samus Reyes. I really
He's kidding, right? He's kidding, right?
Now that Gandy Golden's out, Samus Reyes actually might have a chance. Probably not. I'm actually hearing Hodges has been having a really good camp. So that tight end
Turner
group,
is going nuts. He's going awesome.
Yeah, I think that the tight end group is going to flesh out where you're going to see Logan Thomas, Bates, Cole Turner, and then I think Hodges is probably your next one out of that group. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But Hodges is probably one that I'm going to keep looking at. And Stoner and I are going to be there Monday, so I'll be keeping an eye on that. As far as somebody I'm down on, I don't really have a good answer for that because I think that so far they've been performing to where they need them. I would like to hear more from Percy Butler. So maybe that's my answer here, is because I haven't heard much from him. A lot of
more hopeful.
A lot of people were talking, I wanted a safety in the second round, and they went with Mathis. So when we got Percy Butler, a lot of people were excited, and I just haven't seen that excitement translate to what we're hearing from camp. So that's probably the one that I'm kind of down on.
I'm with you. There were definitely some safety. I think it was Brisker, right? Jaquan Brisker.
Yeah, Brisker was
right
definitely
there, floating around there. Also, I saw that for sure. All right, Stoner, what about you, bud?
Yeah, my guy, and I was on this guy before any of you Yahoos was on this guy, but Cam Curl, right? That's who I'm most excited about. I'm excited about him getting to that next level that everybody knows about him. We all know about him. We've seen him, right? So I'm excited for him to make that next step, maybe a Pro Bowl nomination, something like that, to where everybody in the country knows about Cam Curl. So that's what I'm most high on, excited about. The one that I'm not, and are we going to try and hide this? Are we going to try and not talk about it because we don't want to be negative? But come on, Jamin Davis needs to do something. He needs to step up. He needs to prove that he was worthy of the 19th pick, who nobody had heard of until they drafted him and maybe overdrafted him, whatever. He's got to step up, but I'm not.
That's fair.
I'm not high on him. I'm not.
I
don't want to be negative. Sorry, but I'm just not.
Yeah, me too. I want to jock so bad.
Yeah, me too. All right, Trevor, you're up, bud.
Cole Turner's a player I'm high on ever since the draft. He's just a tight end. He's got the build for it, the hair for it, the route running for it, hands for it. Said he takes pride in red zone touchdowns. So that's what you like to hear from, especially from a rookie. You like to hear that he takes pride in something on the football field already. So that's cool. Player I'm down on, I'm kind of like, I don't really have one really, but I guess as a whole, minus Cole Holcomb, is the linebacking group. I'm down on that. I have zero confidence in it really. No offense to Jamin and Cole, but like Cole is a really polished number 2 guy. Like he would take Jamin Davis' spot, and if we had number 1, that'd be awesome. But I just think we're really thin on that, and teams exposed that and saw that with us last year. And I think if we don't do something about it, the same thing's going to happen again. So
I can see that.
Linebacking group.
Hey, Gus, to alleviate some stress, he said he was pretty low on J.D. McKissick. Wentz won't check the ball down. I can see that potentially because that is the narrative that we keep hearing. But McKissick was featured a lot yesterday. Actually, I saw him.
This playbook's going to be crazy, bro. Yeah, everybody's going to touch the ball. Everybody is.
Yeah. And they were actually being targeted. I actually pulled it up because I saw Gus's comment there. So Jonathan Taylor and Hines were targeted 51 and 57 times last year. And 108. And so 80 receptions between the two of them. So I think that there will still be some opportunities for J.D. McKissick. And I think that J.D. is just one of those electric players where he doesn't need to have a whole lot of touches to be effective. And I think actually keeping him healthy is going to be better, because you saw when he went out, the offense did change, right? He's a great third back to have, because you can actually run him and he can get some decent yards especially when defenses aren't expecting it. He's a player that you can move out wide and expect some good things for. And he's somebody you can just dump the ball off and expect a game-winning touchdown against Atlanta. So I think we're going to see some good things from JD still. He doesn't need 80 receptions to be effective. If he gets 40 to 60, I think we're still going to be happy with JD McKissick, especially for what the team's paying him.
He was noticeably quick too. And I saw it's different. He's 23 now as opposed to number 41. So I was watching practice yesterday. I was like, damn, who's that? 23, like trying to put it together. And he was quick. He was shifty.
Yeah.
They were moving him around. I think he was going to jet sweep one time, and he touches the ball. So I think McKissick will still be featured in the game. All right, last question. Another kind of breaking news that we kind of saw yesterday. We kind of knew this was coming. All of us are definitely have our ears to the ground with this. But Chase Young, okay, we know that Chase Young, he had like a leg graft on his opposing knee, and he had reconstructive surgery on his ACL. So he basically has a long rehab. What was interesting is we all kind of assumed he'd be out one game, but the talk of PUP was coming up yesterday from Coach Rivera's press conference. And for those of you that kind of follow along with that, PUP essentially means you'll be out potentially 6. Again, I think the rule is 6 games if it's the active within the season PUP. So we'll see how that goes. So what is I guess my question is, what are your concerns? What are your thoughts on that? Where do you stand with Chase Young? Are you worried? Trevor, start off with you. And what do you got, man?
No, I'm not worried. I don't think it'll be PUP. I think they just floating that around a little bit of smoke. And it is what it is, but he's definitely missing game 1.
We got a bet on this.
I see him coming back week 3, maybe 4.
Okay.
I don't think PUP though.
Okay, week 3 or 4. Okay. Stoner, what do you got?
Yeah, well, that's a big change of direction there, Trev, from the
Well, I heard it because Rivera said he's missing game 1, so I can't be like, nah, whatever coach says is BS. He's gonna be I can't say that.
Yeah.
So like
that's fair. I Nathan's about the only one that thinks he's gonna land on the PUP. I don't know if he will. He probably will. He'll probably miss 6 weeks. My original stance on it was he's coming back for the Green Bay game, which I believe is week 8, something in that name. That was my original stance, but I had moved it up and thought he might miss like 3 or 4 games, miss the first month. He's going to miss significant time, but I don't think it's a big deal. I think that's standard. It's fine. He's got to recover. He's got to rehab. He's got to get
he's already walking
100% healthy.
He looks healthy, but that's what's interesting to me. You see, like, well, you're right.
Walking and stretching is a different animal.
Yeah. I've torn my ACL before. I'm not the level of athlete Chase Young is by any means, but basically within like 6 months, I was playing basketball, but pickup basketball, whatever. This guy's doing squats on Instagram and doing these explosive drills and things like that. So I'm like, I don't know where the disconnect is, but granted, professional level, things are a lot more at a faster speed, and maybe I got to be more sensitive to that. But I just feel like I don't know where another month would go. But I guess I don't know. It's just interesting. I
always thought week 1, like 6 more weeks, he'd be ready week 1 just by like all the progress he's been. Like he's walking around, no crutch, no brace, around like, no limp.
Yeah.
Like
so there's definitely a difference between walking and playing.
I know, but like
there's some conditioning to this too, right? So it's not just the fact that he can do the squats on Instagram and anything. It's actually again, game speed's going to be different. Actually being hit, being tackled and stuff. You don't want to risk re-injury. That's why I think he's going to end up on the PUP. Just like those reports. It's not just because I have $1 riding on it. I'm going to take Trev's dollar. I'm going to take Stoner's dollar.
I'm going to win it back. I got 17 chances to win it back.
I'm not worried about it. I'm with Stoner on this one. I don't think it's that big of a deal. You want him to come back healthy. If this team is fighting for a playoff spot, it's more important he's there at the end of the season than he is the beginning of the season. If they make the playoffs, you want him healthy and ready for the playoffs.
That makes sense.
I'm not going to be worried until we're 6 games into him playing and whether or not he looks right from there. Okay. Gotcha. If he is the defensive rookie Chase Young that we saw, then great. If he is the Chase Young that we saw kind of, struggle to find his spot last year before being injured, then it's just like, okay, what's going on with Chase? That's when we're needing to worry, but he needs to get healthy first. And that's what I want to see.
It will be a distraction. It will every week. It will be a distraction. It will be a talking point. We all will talk about it every single week. Mm-hmm. Is Chase Young ready? When is he going to be ready? When is he going to get off the PUP, not off the PUP list, but when is he going to be active on game day? We're going to talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And the coaches are going to get sick of it. Chase Young's going to get sick of it. Fans are going to get sick of it. But it is a distraction when you have basically one of the faces of your franchise is not playing out there. That's all.
Ron Rivera definitely was getting feisty yesterday. I don't know if you guys caught that. He was getting sassy with the media about that. He's already angry about it before it goes.
Exactly.
All right,
real quick to
Especially
Tony
they were
P,
like, "Are you going to handle all
who-
the injuries like this?" He was like, "Yes."
Tony P did a super chat on our channel. I want to first appreciate everybody who's been out on the Ref the District channel. Make sure you go out to Full Press Coverage. That's George's channel, and make sure that you support them because they're really good. George is a great person. And the super chat, he does ask. So thanks for that, for the $2. Who has the best wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends? We'll definitely answer that because I know George was trying to keep us to an hour here. So
yeah, man, it's Saturday.
We'll talk about that.
So I just want to acknowledge, Tony. We'll get to your question probably on our channel, especially because we got some time, and George has his time.
It's all good. All right, so to kind of wrap it all up, it's one quick sentence or one quick quick summary. All right, give me one bold claim about this offseason, like a surprise cut or a win prediction or something like that. What's one bold claim that you want to stick a flag on the dirt before we sign off today?
I got one.
Go ahead, Trevor.
Jeremy Reeves is going to be cut for good this offseason.
Okay.
Probably going to happen. Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. My prediction is that I will get Ashburned again.
I hope
every
not.
year. It happens every year. I'm going to be way up here on this team because I see it and we talk about it and we get all excited, and then we're going to get let down, which was what usually happens. I hope not, but I'm definitely going to get Ashburn, which means I'm going to be way up here when the season
That's
starts.
the Washington way, unfortunately. Hope it doesn't go that way this year. We'll see how it goes. And then, Nathan, what do you got, bro?
Gibson will have more yards on less carries by the end of the season. That's what I'm going to predict.
More efficient? Okay, I can see that. Very
more
good.
efficient.
All right, guys.
Another one.
Right. You have another one? Go real quick, Trevor, before we start off.
Antonio Gibson fumbles 5 times within the first 4 games, and Brian Robinson becomes running back 1.
I'll take that.
Get him off that.
$1,000. I'll take that.
Let's see.
Why we got to be negative? This is the positive season.
Stoner said we're going to get let down, but you didn't say anything to him.
That's true.
No, I said
he didn't predict 5 fumbles in 4 games.
It's happening.
That's funny. All right, fellas. It's kind of hard because all three of you guys are kind of connected, but drop your socials, what upcoming products you have, talk about your channel. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, so we're Ref the District. I'm Nathan, that's Stoner, and that's Trev right there. We actually have a big product coming out Monday. That is an interview with Kenny Mayne, legendary ESPN anchor for years. It's our After the Whistle product where we're going to talk to him about more than just sports. We're talking to him about his life, what he's got going on. So you can check that out on Monday the 1st. We're Ref the District all over the place, so you can check us out on our YouTube channel. Of course, we have looks like we have about 26 people on right now. We appreciate those people supporting us. Again, go out and check out George's channels, the full press coverage, everything you see there. We stream live every Wednesday at 7:30 Eastern. Not on that West Coast time that George tweeted out this morning. And every Wednesday, 7:30, and we'll answer that question from the super chat on there. So thanks, Tony P, for that.
Yeah, and guys, honestly, thank you for jumping on today. I love Ref the District. I've known them in person. I've met them a couple of times. I've known them for years. It's actually great having you on. Feels like family on here. Definitely, busting jokes back and forth. I love that. So thank you for jumping on, especially on a Saturday morning. I know how hard that is. And for those of you listening, my Twitter handle is @gcarmi21. I also host the FBC Commanders handle, so definitely check that out. I'm definitely growing my channel. So Full Press Commanders is my YouTube channel. Please follow that. I only have about 18 videos, and I love to have the interaction that I've had with this chat. It's been fantastic. So thank you guys for everything. So guys, have a great rest of the Saturday. Take care and peace out.
Be a fan.